September 15th, 2020. Just a quick update on the honeybees. They're bringing in all kinds of nectar and pollen, primarily from goldenrod at this point, although there are some other sources they're working. Holy basil and white and red clovers and a few others, but it's primarily goldenrod at this point. Good traffic. It's 63 degrees out last I checked, so we're cooling off fast. Last night we went down to 41, which felt like near winter after the heat we've had over the summer. I am not looking forward to cold weather, but it is what it is. And I guess I'll just show a clip here. Wow, look at all that pollen going in. That's awesome. Show a clip here of the sun. That's the sun with no cloud cover. That haze is all from the smoke from the forest fires out west, and it is really killing our buzz, so to speak. Alright, let's take a look at the top bar hive quick. Here we are at the old top bar. Pretty decent traffic. Definitely no bearding, nobody hanging out outside if they don't have to be. Still plenty of traffic. I gotta get back in here and inspect this and the other hives real soon, but it's a busy week, and yeah, tonight I got the Comrades and Farm show on Truth Frequency Radio and YouTube, and so I gotta get prepared for that. I got a bunch of stuff I gotta do here on the farm to prep for planting cover crops, because that's got to be put in real soon too. So the buckwheat opened up full flower in the last couple days. The pollinators have been in and out of it pretty heavily. You can see there's some pretty good activity in here right now. If I can zoom in on these guys. So we got lots of honeybees and wild pollinators in it. Again, you can see this division line between where I tilled that section and where I didn't. Tremendous difference in height, plant health, stature, etc. A great example of oxidation versus reduction in soils. In this heavy clay soil we have here. And on the other side where I hadn't tilled, you can see it again, that drop off. A very definitive difference. The holy basil is still rocking, producing flowers. Pollinators are still working it all day, every day, up until frost, and I think it actually came through the first couple of light frosts last year. It's about time for me to collect some seed from it and save some for health purposes, reasons, etc. I did come through last night and do my first harvest of seed from the large leaf basil. Lots of good seed. I got about a 5-gallon bucket full of these seed heads. They're in the greenhouse now on the drying rack drying. I also harvested the purple coneflower heads, all of them. Hopefully those will yield some nice seed so I can expand the purple coneflower. It has been spreading in the areas planted over there, but I could spread it faster if I propagate it. So that bucket full of basil seed I told you I collected, this is it, sitting out here on the cardboard. in the drying rack here with a fan blowing straight across this. And I just started running the wood stove again last night to make sure we have good heat and airflow and a good... Wow, that smells wonderful. Wow, does that smell wonderful. Good difference in air temperature so we can evaporate moisture off. And greenhouse pie took a hit from a lightning strike back in the summer, as it does every year. Isn't that just dandy? So I got to replace that. And also have a dead battery in here, so I got to replace that. No idea how I'm going to budget that. So for now, we're just running on manual controls, and I forced the vents down with a manual override last night, just so I could close this up and keep it dry in here. I went down to 41 degrees last night. And so this is the purple coneflower seed. These have spread on their own pretty well through the birds and the winds and such. Usually I mow that area around those a little tighter. This year I let it go because I figured there would be some of these growing in the understory, and sure enough there were. So those have propagated themselves pretty nicely, and I just went through and snagged all the flower heads off them for seeds for next year. And we'll dry these down a bit, we'll strip the seeds out, and I'll stick them in a jar, and then come probably March or April I'll put them in a tray with some soil, and we'll put them in the fridge for a month or so and stratify them, and then we'll bring them out, germinate them, and transplant them out into good spots. Next I got to come through and get sweet Thai basil seed, and then I'll follow that with the holy basil. I keep catching whiffs of that, and it's just wonderful. In the under canopy here, looks like some of these carrot seeds did germinate, and we still got some nice young basil plants doing okay under here. I was going to come through and weed this out last night, and then with it being so cold, I thought, you know what, let's not pull the weeds and other plants around them. Let's leave them in here as sort of a thermal cover, so that the soil temperature and this microclimate air pocket that's under this canopy of leaves like this can help protect those basils for a little longer. You know, I don't know if we'll get anything out of it, but it was just a thought. But it is cool to see some carrots coming through here. I may end up getting some carrots out of this after all. I think the only reason the rabbits haven't come through and completely wiped out all those carrot tops is just because this is grown in so thick. And of course, now with the rains we've had, there's lots of other green stuff for them to go after. We do have some ripening tomatoes, so a few cherries. I had my first ripe San Marzano night before last with some pasta. That was delicious. And tomatoes are coming along, but with the cold temps, boy, it's going to be awfully hard to ripen them. I might have to pick some of these green and bring them inside and try to ripen them inside, but we'll see. We'll see how the temperatures go. I'll probably put another foliar feed down again soon, help keep the bricks level up. I know last year we came through a 28-degree frost with tomatoes, and they actually did not take any damage from that frost. So, and this year, of course, I had the plant sap test analysis done last year, so now I have a little bit, theoretically, a little bit better balance on nutritional supplements and foliar feeds. Of course, I just don't have the money or the time to test those this year to see how close I am calibrated. But I will say, in the last couple days since I foliar fed, all of these tomatoes have massively grown in size, and you know, we've set more new flowers, so it seems like they're doing pretty well. Really hope I can pull off a few tomato sandwiches for the end of the season. 2020 has been some freaking crazy year. Guess I'll just give you a shot of the sunflowers that are in with the buckwheat here. Those are just about to open flowers, and this buckwheat is ripening and close to being ready for seed harvest. That's kind of exciting. I'm going to go through and thrash out as much as I can, and it's a good example of you know, finished buckwheat, or basically finished buckwheat that's ripe versus buckwheat that's still in flower. Just a nice contrast between the two there. On the sweet corn. Well, the coons got the most of the sweet corn, even it was inside the fence here. I came through last night and I think I picked out maybe 8 or 10 or maybe 12 small ears that I'll just cook some food with. There were 4 decent sized ears. I took those to my parents yesterday so they could have them with dinner. So I'm going to pull this fence out of here and the posts out of here. I'm going to mow what's left of this under. I came through and harvested out all the double standard sweet corn last night as well. That was husked, and that's on the drying rack in the greenhouse. So just a quick clip of these. This is the double standard. This is the 2nd generation. I've had it in my nutrition program. This seed originally came from Johnny's Selected Seeds. Some pretty decent sized kernels on some of these. And of course some just don't perform very well at all. I'll definitely select away from that seed wise. But some of these were decent. We'll carry them forward. We'll select for the biggest and best seed, and we'll see if we can continue to improve this variety even a little bit. We got some pretty nice seed size and some pretty nice ears out of that. I probably will go through and do a seed selection from that. I'll probably grow another block of that next year, even though it's not super productive variety. It is an heirloom variety, and in the event of a supply chain disconnect, it would be the only sweet corn that I have access to, you know, without searching around local suppliers, and I can't even guarantee a local supplier could pull off some seed. So for now, we'll carry it just as an insurance plan more than anything. Anyway, this will be mowed down as well. This amaranth is starting to go to seed. I don't think yeah, they are mature already, so that's a hell of a mess. But whatever, we're going to plant this into rye and Austrian winter pea as soon as I can get back out here to do it. Yeah, and then you can see this other section where I mowed. I'll probably mow this in a little more. The Austrian winter pea, I have to figure out how to get that in deep enough, because that's supposed to be 2 or 3 inches in depth, so it'll sustain through the colder weather and be an overwintering cover crop. So I may have to come back in here and hand trench. I still don't have the tiller fixed, and I don't have the money to get the belt for the tiller. So here we are, back in fall, having lots of fun. Anyway, on a positive note, the sunflowers are all opening. At least this first round are. And man, are they gorgeous. What a beautiful, brilliant yellow color. There's a bumblebee hanging out. Well, not hanging out. Gorging. Gorging. On nectar and pollen. Oh, these smell wonderful too. I can smell them here. There's another bumblebee. Don't see any honeybees in here yet. I suspect that they're chasing that goldenrod hard right now. But fortunately we have more flowers opening, and as you saw before, there's another round of sunflowers that'll be opening. And I know this isn't a tremendous amount of sunflower, but any little boost of additional high quality nutrition that we can provide end of the season for the bees is a wonderful thing. Regarding the curve block sweet corn here, it is ripening pretty well. Those silks are starting to brown out. We're pretty close to another harvest on here. I'm going to stay hard on patrol against coons and skunks and all that kind of stuff, and I'm hoping that this fence barrier will help slow them down at least. Man, it's been frustrating. So there are some small delicata squash in here. So there'll be a few of those to eat. And some seed to save maybe. I don't know, I might save the seed from last year rather than use these. Last year did much better. They were much bigger squash, and they were nice big robust seed. This year not so well. Still kind of learning how to grow squash really well. They're a little bit of a finicky plant, at least here in our soils. Our soils aren't super high organic matter as of yet, although as you can see we're building that up over time. I think we'll just scoot around to the other side of this block quick and we'll take a look at that nice row of sunflowers on the other side. So you can see these are all developing flower heads and at various stages of opening. Of course, the area where the chicken tractor was stopped and where the soil health is a little higher is where they're opening first, and they're tallest, they're most robust. Where there's less sunlight and the soil isn't as good, they're behind, they're shorter. Those differences in soil health really stand out as these are maturing. In the under canopy, you can see that sweet clover, that's this right here, is doing really well and shooting up. Looks like the nurse crop job. Nurse crop did a good job. And there are some orange Hawaiian marigold plants here and there. That's a relatively small one. I know I've seen some bigger ones in here. Don't know where they are now. Well, there's one there. And one there. So, I don't know, we'll see. At this point, I doubt they're even going to make flower, just given how fast the weather is shifting. But it's an interesting thing to try. And I know they repel some of the bad nematodes, so even if they don't make flower, I'll bet there's some beneficial effect in the soil, even if we can't measure it. Alright, I gotta get to work pulling these fence down and get this corn mowed under. Just wanted to get a real quick clip here. Yeah, see, there's a honeybee working this clover. Just wanted to get a real quick clip here of this white clover. A couple of little splotches of red. But this stuff is growing back in real nice from the mow and the rains. And of course that foliar feed shot I gave it definitely helped. And these are coming back and starting to throw flowers out, which is fantastic because we're getting really cool weather coming on. And at some point we're going to lose the buckwheat and some of these other more sensitive crops. And the goldenrod will be going by, and so there won't be a tremendous amount of resources available for honeybees. But this white clover should come through a little bit longer, and that's really encouraging. And actually, it's interesting. Well, those are bumblebees, but they're in here working it too. And I just caught a clip of a honeybee. Oh, that bumblebee, guess where he's been? Guess where he's been? Those pollen sacs tell me he's been in the holy basil. That's that holy basil pollen color. Brilliant mauve, red, orange kind of color. So he's going around and hitting them all up. He or she. Alright, that's it for now. And so it is. Mowed under, clean. The end of another growing season, and time to put some cover crops in to keep working these soils. Mowed, chopped, dropped. I gotta tell you, this stuff is really rough to do with a lawnmower. Someday I hope to have an actual tractor and some actual tractor implements and a little more room for growing. But as it is, this is a great scale to learn on. And here's another interesting example about cover crops and moisture differences. When I came back here and I did a scrape in this section that was already mowed. But if you look where I didn't scrape along with the deck, and you can see how dry this soil is on top, like literally dusty dry. And I only mowed that, I don't know, 3-4 days ago. And then if you go up here where I just mowed and we look at the soil, there's still good moisture in here. This is a really good example of how growing crops, covering soils with their leaves, just being there and blocking that direct sunlight on the soil makes a tremendous difference in moisture content. And you can see in just a couple of days that we went from this high moisture content on top to a lot drier on top. And you can see there's still good moisture underneath. Part of that is because there's still good root structure under there and good biology. And we've had good rains. Not real recently, but I think last week. So just a good comparison. I'm going to come back with the mower on a day or maybe even a night after a heavy dew when this is less dusty, because mowing this when it's like this is really dusty and I don't really like breathing dust. So I'm going to come back and mow this, chop this a little bit finer like I got this down to here. We've got some really nice organic material mulch on top now. And I'm going to come back and plant rye into this and Austrian winter pea. And I'll have to figure out how to drill the Austrian winter pea in. It may come down to coming out here with a hoe or something and just cutting trenches and dropping the seeds in and then filling the trenches back over. If that's what it takes, that's what it takes. I want those legumes in here. I want that cover crop to have the maximum benefit that it can. And those legumes are super beneficial for that. They're really good at fixing nitrogen and building soils and just really helping foster biology. And I will put a link to a video from my friend Brad from Grow the Farm Up. He did a video back in February last year. I believe it was February 10th. And you could see that Austrian winter pea was still green out there in Nebraska. And he gets some really harsh cold conditions out there, including some really strong winds. And for those of you who may not be as familiar with plants, believe it or not, temperature is one factor, but really strong winds is another. I know I took a course over at the Cornell Cooperative Extension a couple years back on viticulture and orchard trees, and one of the biggest factors they were saying for sustained damage to grapevines was a factor on the wind. They said you could I think it was like they could sustain pretty fine through temperatures of 10 or 15 degrees, but if you went and factored a 20-mile-an-hour wind in there, it changed that thing dramatically. So just some comments and thoughts on this sort of stuff. I hope you found this interesting or informative. I hope you join us tonight at 12 a.m. Eastern Time, 9 p.m. Pacific Time for Comrades in Farms on Truth Frequency Radio and right here on the Pharmacy Seeds Network YouTube channel. Thanks for watching the Pharmacy Seeds Network. No cloud cover. All that haze is from the smoke from the forest fires out west. The sun's intensity is maybe a quarter of what it normally is right now. And we're getting cold nights and cool days already.